Aaron waited until the last lantern in the old stone courtyard flickered low before he finally gathered his companions close. Night always softened the edges of the world, and in that quiet, he felt the invisible threads between them tighten, as if the realm itself was holding its breath. The city around them slept under the weight of the Watcher's influence, but here, behind closed gates and heavy vines, the world seemed gentle enough for a truth that had been hidden for ages. He looked at Lyra first, her palms rough from years of wandering beside him. He took her hand, turned it toward the moonlight, and traced the faint lines there with both tenderness and urgency. "Do you see it now?" he murmured, as though afraid sound alone might draw attention from beyond the walls. She squinted, brows pulling together, then her eyes widened in the dim glow. "It looks like an M. But it wasn't there before." Her voice trembled, caught between awe and confusion. "It has always been there," Aaron said gently. "You simply never knew where to look." He moved to the others, Corin with his restless energy, Nissa with her quiet poise, and Jalen who tried to hide the way his hands shook. One by one, he held their palms up to the moonlight. Each revealed the same intricate sigil, formed not by ink or carving but by the natural intersection of their lifelines. A pattern so ordinary it had been overlooked their entire lives. "This isn't a symbol," Aaron continued, lowering his voice even further. "It's a signature. A remembrance of where you came from." Lyra swallowed hard. "Aaron, you've hinted at this before. That there's something in us the Watchers can't touch. Are you saying this mark is it?" Aaron nodded. "They erased ancient manuscripts. They destroyed whole schools of knowledge. They shaped religions and rewrote histories to hide this truth. But they cannot erase what was woven into your flesh before your birth." Nissa frowned slightly, brushing her thumb over her palm as if the sigil might respond. "You told us once that we were not born bound to this world. That we came from somewhere beyond the layers of form. Is this mark proof?" He smiled. "The mark is the bridge. It's a whisper from the source you came from, the realm of the monad, the place untouched by the Watcher's grasp. When the monad sent fragments of itself into embodied life, it left each fragment with this signature. A way to navigate back home." Corin exhaled shakily. "So we're not native to this realm? We're visitors?" "Travelers," Aaron corrected. "You came here long before you had names or memories. But once you entered this world, the weight of form made you forget. That forgetting is what the Watchers rely on. Their whole system depends on keeping you blind to this signature." Jalen's voice cracked as he whispered, "Why us? Why do we have the sigil when so many don't?" Aaron studied him carefully. "Because not everyone here is the same. Some beings were shaped entirely from the fabric of this realm, born through the cycles of its creation. Their palm lines are scattered, unformed, lacking the sigil's clarity. Others carry faint traces, still developing through the realm's long process of growth. But you," he said, sweeping his gaze across the group, "you are fragments of the monad. You were not shaped here. You arrived." Lyra closed her eyes, breathing deeply. "I always felt it. A kind of loneliness I couldn't explain. As if I missed a place I had no memory of." "That loneliness," Aaron said softly, "is homesickness. A calling from what you truly are." The courtyard air thickened with silence, the kind that carries weight rather than emptiness. The group stood close, hands outstretched, each staring at the sigil with the realization that everything they'd sensed but could never articulate was suddenly real. Aaron motioned for them to sit in a circle on the warm stone floor. As they settled in, the lantern flame finally guttered out, leaving only moonlight and the faint glow of the city spreading beyond the walls. "When I was younger than any of you," Aaron began, "a teacher revealed my sigil the same way I'm revealing yours. He told me the Watchers could manipulate the mind, distort emotions, and bend perception, but they could never rewrite what the monad encoded." He paused, letting the words sink in. "This is why the Watchers created distractions. Why they turned palm reading into a superstition. Why they taught entire cultures to ignore their own hands." Corin laughed under his breath, though there was no joy in it. "To think, all these years I used these hands without ever noticing the one thing that mattered." "That's how their system works," Aaron said. "Not through force, but through blindness." Nissa leaned forward. "If this is true, why now? Why reveal this to us tonight?" Aaron inhaled slowly, looking up at the sky. Thin clouds drifted past the moon, and for a moment the courtyard glimmered as if the world itself were shifting. "Because the Watcher's influence is thinning. Because the monad has begun to call its fragments home again. And because you are ready to remember." Jalen touched his chest with his free hand. "Remember what?" "That you're not this story you've been living," Aaron answered. "Not the fears you've carried. Not the roles the world assigned you. You are awareness wearing a temporary mask. And the sigil is the mechanism through which that mask begins to dissolve." Lyra whispered, "So this mark, it's a way back." "A guide?" "A guide," Aaron confirmed, "and a shield. When activated, the sigil weakens the Watcher's ability to perceive you. Their hold loosens. Their illusions falter." Corin straightened. "Activated? So it's dormant?" "For now," Aaron said, his voice dropping to a calm, almost hypnotic rhythm. "But not for long. And when it awakens, your lives will never function the same again." He looked around the circle, meeting each pair of eyes with quiet certainty. "Tonight, I'll teach you how to awaken it. But first, you needed to know the truth of what you carry. You needed to see with your own eyes that the signature has been with you since the moment you slipped into this realm." The group sat silently, palms open, sigils glowing faintly under the shifting moonlight. Aaron felt it, the subtle hum in the air, the soft pull of recognition moving through each of them. "You were never lost," he said gently. "You simply forgot to look at your hands." And with that, the first veil between them and the monad began to thin. Aaron waited until everyone had settled into the hush of the courtyard. The night had deepened, turning the stone walls a muted silver, and for a moment it felt as though the air itself was leaning in to listen. The companions sat with their palms facing upward, the faint sigils resting quietly in the moonlight. None of them spoke. They didn't need to. Something inside each of them had already begun to stir. "Before we begin," Aaron murmured, "understand this, the sigil is not something you force open. It's something you remember into awakening." Lyra nodded, though her breaths were shaky. Corin swallowed hard. Nissa's calm facade flickered with anticipation. And Jalen, he pressed his lips together and stared at his hand as though it might suddenly speak. Aaron gently extended his own palm, revealing the same geometric crossing of lines the others carried, though his appeared deeper, more luminous in the dim glow. "This mark has been awake in me for many years," he said softly. "And what it has shown me is simple: awareness is the key. Awareness is what the Watchers cannot corrupt." He motioned for them to mirror his posture, one hand open on the lap, the other relaxed by their side. "Good," he whispered. "Now keep your eyes soft. Don't stare at the sigil. Just notice it. A quiet wind drifted through the courtyard, rustling the leaves overhead. It carried a faint scent of earth after rain, stirring memories none of them recognized but all of them felt. Aaron's voice flowed gently into that silence. The sigil is formed by the crossing of three lines, what some have called the heart line, the head line, and the life line. But those names are too small for what they represent. These lines correspond to three levels of consciousness: the emotional realm, the mental realm, and the essential life force. He pointed to the left vertical stroke of the sigil. This, he said, is the descent. The path your awareness took when it entered this realm and forgot what it was. He lowered his finger to the right side. And this is the ascent. The journey you are on now. The shift from forgetting back into remembrance. Jalen exhaled a trembling breath. I feel something already. It's like a pulse under the skin. That's because you're seeing yourself, Aaron said, smiling. Not your ego self, not the story self, the deeper self that has been waiting for you to look directly at it. He continued. The two peaks of the sigil represent the dual awareness you move between, the human experience and the monad consciousness. The sigil connects these two states. It isn't just a mark. It's a map. Corin leaned forward slightly. So how do we activate it? Aaron drew in a slow breath. By remembering. He instructed them to close their eyes. Don't shut out the world, simply soften it. Feel the shape of your palm without touching it. Sense the quiet energy at the center of the intersection, the place where all three lines meet.
The companions inhaled. The courtyard seemed to fall even deeper into stillness. Now breathe slowly, Aaron said. On each inhale, gather your awareness into the sigil. Not your thoughts, your awareness. As though every part of you were leaning inward. He paused, letting the air settle around them. On each exhale, imagine that awareness flowing into a vast, luminous presence. You're not sending it away. You're returning it to its origin. You're completing the circuit. Lyra's face softened. A faint warmth spread across her hand. She whispered, I feel it. It's like a glow under the skin. That is the first stirring, Aaron said. Don't try to control it. Don't force it. Let it open itself. They breathed together, slow and steady. Now, Aaron continued, bring your attention to the center point where the lines meet. Treat that point as a door. On one side is who you believe yourself to be, your name, your memories, your identity. On the other side is the monad, the boundless awareness that has never once been touched by the watchers. Nissa's eyebrows drew together. It feels alive. As if something inside my hand is responding to me. That responsiveness, Aaron whispered, is the monad recognizing its fragment. The sigil is not a symbol. It's a connection. He let the silence build, letting the companions sink deeper. After a long moment, he spoke again. When the sigil activates, you will feel a subtle shift, warmth, tingling, pressure, or a sense of expansion. When that happens, speak 3 words internally. Not out loud. The companions waited. Aaron said it softly, I am Source. Corin inhaled sharply. Lyra's lips parted in recognition. Nissa bowed her head gently. Jalen tensed as though something unseen had brushed across his consciousness. These words are not an affirmation, Aaron explained. They are a remembrance. You are not declaring something new. You are remembering what has always been true.
A faint tremor rippled through the courtyard as if the world responded to those words. The Watchers track you through your belief in separation, Aaron continued. They follow your identity, your fears, your narrative. But when you activate the sigil, you broadcast from a frequency they cannot enter. They lose the signal. Their influence shatters like mist. He paused as a lantern in the corner flickered back to life for no apparent reason. Lyra opened her eyes briefly. Aaron, is this why I always felt like something was watching me? Why certain emotions felt louder than they should? Yes, Aaron said gently. The Watchers amplify emotion to pull you deeper into identification. They cannot touch the monad, but they can manipulate the human layers, thoughts, impulses, shame, desire. Activation weakens their reach. It cuts the cord. Jalen clenched his hand lightly. But what if I'm doing it wrong? What if nothing activates? Aaron shook his head. You cannot do it wrong. The sigil is not awakened by perfection or belief. It awakens by attention. By recognition. You don't activate it, you uncover it. The moon shifted behind a thin veil of cloud, dimming the courtyard but deepening the intimacy of the moment. Aaron placed his own palm over Jalen's, not touching, just hovering close. Feel the energy gathering there, he whispered. Let it rise. Let it open. Something in Jalen's posture loosened. Then his breath hitched. I feel heat. It's subtle, but it's there. That heat, Aaron said softly, is the threshold. Stay there. Don't expect more. Just let it be what it is. He turned to the others. Lyra's hand glowed faintly with warmth. Corin's breath had grown steady and deep. Nissa's expression softened into a peaceful stillness. You are each activating the sigil in your own way, Aaron said. This is only the beginning. Over the next days, the Watcher's grip will weaken. Thoughts will quiet. Emotions will flow freely without ensnaring you. Dreams will shift. You're stepping beyond their reach. The companions opened their eyes slowly, one by one. Their palms tingled with a subtle radiance, as though a small lamp had been lit under the skin. Aaron smiled. Tonight you remembered the first thread. Soon you will remember the rest. The courtyard felt different now, not merely a hidden space but a threshold. A place where the human story had begun to unwind. And above them, unseen but present, the Watchers felt something slip from their grasp. The courtyard felt transformed, not by anything visible but by the subtle shift that moved through the companions like a slow wave of remembrance. The sigils on their palms no longer seemed like faint patterns. They felt alive now, warm, pulsing quietly beneath the skin as if acknowledging the awakening happening within each of them. Aaron watched them in silence for a while, letting the sensation settle into their bodies, their breathing, their awareness. There are signs you will notice in the coming nights, he finally said, his voice barely above a whisper. Signs that the sigil is active and the Watchers are losing their hold. Lyra looked up, her eyes softer than before. I already feel lighter, she murmured. As though something that used to cling to me has loosened. Aaron nodded gently. That is one of the earliest signs. Their hooks detach. Their influence thins like smoke. Corin flexed his hand slowly, mesmerized by the faint warmth lingering there. So this is what freedom feels like. It is what remembering feels like, Aaron corrected with a smile. True freedom is not something you earn. It is something you uncover. Nissa, always quiet, lifted her palm to examine it again. You said the Watchers tracked us through identification. So if they can no longer find us, what changes? Aaron leaned back, letting the moonlight illuminate his face. First, you will begin to see the sigil everywhere, not just on your palm. In the patterns of leaves, in shadows, in the shapes of clouds. The world begins to reflect you back to yourself. The monad speaks through symbols, and the awakened sigil tunes your awareness to that frequency. Jalen's breath caught. I saw something like that earlier. A branch behind you, it looked like the same shape. That was not imagination, Aaron said softly. When the sigil awakens, the separation between inner and outer dissolves. The world becomes a mirror, and the monad shows you its presence in every pattern. Lyra closed her eyes, absorbing the meaning of that. The air around her seemed to shimmer with a calm she hadn't known in years. Aaron continued, another sign is emotional clarity. Manipulation stops working. The Watchers often amplify small triggers, fear, doubt, shame, longing, to keep you bound to the story self. But when the sigil awakens, those emotions may still arise, but they no longer hook into your identity. You see them for what they are, passing waves, nothing more. Corin exhaled deeply as if releasing something old. I've felt that even just now. A tension that always used to rise in me, it isn't catching anymore. That is because you're seeing clearly, Aaron said. And what you see clearly, you cannot be bound by. He paused, letting the night breeze wash over them again, gentle and cool against their skin. The third sign, he said quietly, appears in dreams. You may notice your dreams become brighter, coherent, sometimes instructional. The Watcher's interference in dreams is subtle, they stir chaos to harvest energy from confusion and fear. But once your sigil is active, that interference cannot reach you. Your dreams return to their true purpose, exploration, remembrance, connection. Nissa's eyes softened. Last night, I had a quiet dream. No fear. Just light. She hesitated. As if I were floating. Aaron smiled. That is the monad speaking to you in your own language. Jalen rubbed his thumb slowly over his palm. And what about the people around us? Those who don't have the sigil? Aaron's expression grew thoughtful. You will understand them more clearly. Some people carry faint marks, they are souls developing toward this awareness but not yet remembering. And some have no mark at all. They were shaped within this realm by the Watcher's system. Their journey is different, but not lesser. Lyra swallowed. So they can't follow us? Not all, Aaron replied softly. You will love people who cannot walk the same path. But the sigil's activation makes you a stabilizing presence. Even those without the mark feel calmer around you. Your frequency becomes an anchor they instinctively trust. Corin tilted his head. So we help them, just by being awake? Yes, Aaron said. Awakening is not an escape. It is a radiance. The monad shines through you, and the world shifts around that light. A quiet fell again, deeper now, almost reverent. The companions each sat with the weight, no, the lightness, of what they had become. Now, Aaron said gently, there is something important you must understand. He held out his palm again, letting the sigil catch the moonlight. This mark is not merely a reminder of your origin. It is your path home. When activated fully, the sigil becomes a portal, not a physical doorway, but a shift in perception. You begin to experience life from the monad's point of view rather than the human one. Jalen's voice was soft. That sounds overwhelming. It is only overwhelming to the story self, Aaron answered. To the true self, it is natural. He leaned forward, resting both hands on his knees. Tonight, you opened the first layer. But there are deeper layers that will awaken as you practice. Each time you place your palm upward, breathe, and reconnect with the center of the sigil, you strengthen the link. The Watcher's influence collapses. Your identity loosens. And what you are beyond all names shines through. Lyra opened her hand again, gazing at it as though it were the first time she had ever really looked. And when that light becomes strong, what happens to us? Aron's smile widened, not with pride, but with a profound gentleness. You remember fully. You remember that you were never separate, never lost. You remember the realm you came from, the monad, and the moment you are ready, the sigil guides you back. Not through death, but through awakening. Through seeing the illusion clearly enough that it releases its hold. The night pulsed with a soft, subtle electricity. The companions did not fear Aron's words anymore. Something inside them knew he was speaking truth, not a prophecy, not a metaphor, but a memory they had forgotten. Aron stood slowly and motioned for them to rise. The courtyard felt like a threshold now, one they had already stepped across without realizing it. This world will look different tomorrow, he said quietly. Not because it has changed, but because you have. Corin breathed in deeply. What do we do now? Aron looked at each of them with steady warmth. You live. You observe. You practice. And tonight before you sleep, place your palm upward, find the center of the sigil, and speak the words within yourself, I am Source. Nissa's voice trembled with a tender clarity. And the Watchers? Aron shook his head gently. They cannot follow you where you are going. They will feel you slipping from their grasp, but they cannot reach the monad. A final silence spread, soft and shimmering. You were never meant to stay trapped here, Aron whispered. You were meant to awaken and return. And tonight, the path home has opened. Below is your 300-word closing statement, completing the structure exactly as requested. Each call to action is different, soft, relaxed, and aligned with the mystical tone of the script. As the night settles and the lanterns fade into a gentle hush, take a moment to sense the quiet shift within you. Something ancient has stirred, something subtle but unmistakably real. The sigil resting on your palm is no longer just a pattern of lines. It has become a doorway, a reminder, a soft pulse from the monad calling you back to what you have always been beneath the noise of this world. You are stepping into a different way of moving through reality. Thoughts that once tangled your mind begin to soften. Emotions that once overwhelmed you start to flow with ease. The world around you becomes clearer, quieter, more precise. And through that clarity, a deeper truth begins to rise. You are not a fragment searching for completion. You are the source remembering itself from within form. In the days ahead, pay attention to the signs. The warmth in your palm. The strange calm in moments that once triggered fear. The dreams that feel like teachings rather than chaos. And the gentle way your presence steadies those around you, even if they do not understand why. Your awakening is not an escape from the world, it is an illumination of it. Every breath, every small realization, every quiet shift brings you further beyond the reach of the Watchers and closer to the vast, luminous wholeness from which you came. If this journey resonates with you, subscribe to this channel so you can continue walking this path with others who carry the same mark. If this teaching opens something within you, leave a like. It helps other wanderers find their way here. And if you know someone who might feel this same awakening, share this video so the light travels further than any of us alone. Your sigil is awake now. The path home has already begun.